this 2020 season. Because like you said, obviously we were both on Fade In with Eric Kimmery, and obviously a lot happened since that point. But, your eyes go to the line of scrimmage whenever you watch a game. In South Carolina, hey, whenever you have a 1,000-yard rusher, you feel like as an offensive line, you had a good year. And I would say in the run game, South Carolina's offensive line did a fantastic job. Obviously had some troubles in pass pro. Some of that can be credited due to you didn't have the most mobile quarterback for a lot of the year, but whatever. It is what it is. You struggled a little bit in pass pro. But again, Kevin Harris, what he did this season, the way he ran the football, and some of the holes he had to run through, it was absolutely ridiculous. But when you looked at the Gamecocks offensive line in 2020, and obviously led by Sadarius Hutcherson, who's now headed to the NFL, things you like, things you want to see them improve as they go into next season. Again, we have no clue if a guy like Eric Wolford's going to be back, so I'm sure there's going to be some shuffling there if you have a new offensive line coach. But just what you saw from the Gamecocks offensive line in 2020 as a whole.
I think I agree. I would say, in my opinion, run blocking is a lot harder than pass blocking. So I think a lot of emphasis in practice is probably on run blocking. Where I think Eric Wolford did a good job, and I don't know if this is Eric Wolford, Mike Bobo's scheme, but it was a lot more double teams at the point of attack than single blocks. And when you put 600 pounds on 300 pounds, you can usually get some movement at the point of attack. And a lot of times backs can make linebackers miss. And so, or the linebacker will feel the hole too tight that he gets jammed up in the movement of the D lineman. So I think offensive line wise, I think that was the emphasis on it, that Harris could make cuts in the line of scrimmage instead of having to avoid linebackers tackling him in the backfield and having to make cuts 2 yards deep. So I think that was the primary structure of the offense that I was really impressed with, is the double team at point of attack where Harris can make cuts in the line of scrimmage or hit it downhill full speed and then make a cut later on the second level. As far as the pass blocking, I think the overall scheme of pass, and I don't want to knock the Gamecocks, but I think there's a lot that goes into the pass blocking. I think you talked about it. The mobile quarterback is a struggle, but why do you need a mobile quarterback? Well, you also had receivers, and let's call it what it is. Shi Smith is our only true SEC receiver, and nothing against Muse, but he went to Million and Mary before he developed, so he was a Division II guy that transferred in. And the same thing with the guy that went to Wingate. Their division, they weren't SEC caliber receivers that we talk about today. Yes, they had decent seasons, but they still had a lot to learn transferring in to be at that caliber. So you can't throw it all on Colin Hill. You can't throw it all on the offensive line. If your receivers don't get open, your quarterback's not going to throw it because he's told the whole time, don't throw interceptions, don't turn the ball over, take a sack first. So there's a lot that goes into that. Is it because they were covered downfield? Is it because they didn't protect? Is it because we couldn't run around the pocket? So you get into it's very when Spurrier, I think it was Spurrier, when they had to bench Blake Mitchell for Savell Newton, there was some issues on the up front, and we needed a guy that could run around. Blake Mitchell was a good quarterback, but he couldn't run around at the time. So Savell couldn't extend plays, and so that's what made the team more successful.
No, for sure. And you think back to this season and what Kevin Harris did, just speaks for itself. And I tell people, it's like, and I know you already know this, but when you think about what Kevin Harris did, first Gamecocks running back to hit 1,000 since 2013, and he did it in a 10-game all-conference schedule. And I say this too, he did it when teams knew what we were going to do, and he still did it. We had no threat of a passing game, like you're saying, just the lack of weapons on the outside. I want to ask you, because I talked to, I forget who it was, but another former Gamecocks offensive lineman about this. I'll pose this question to you. And as a coach, I'm sure I'd love to get your perspective on this. Would you rather have an All-American offensive line and an average running back, or an All-American running back but an average offensive line? Like, if you had to pick one of the two, what are you going with?
As an offensive lineman, I used to argue that I'd rather have
I think it was actually Kimry we talked about this with. Yeah, I forgot.
Right.
That's my bad. It was literally Kimry. You were sitting next to me. Maybe that's why it came to my head.
And the more I think about it, I'd probably rather have an All-American running back. I say all the time, the best coach to ever coach football was Herschel Walker's running back coach.
Yeah.
So those do a lot of running backs. If you can make guys miss, then you're a pretty good running back. Now, don't get me wrong, you need guys to get in the way. But overall, I'd probably take an All-American running back, because you're not an All-American running back with not a decent offensive line.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I want to move again. 2020 season. Obviously, it's interesting, Jeff, because when we talked, it was the week of the Auburn game. There was a lot of excitement, a lot of emotion. South Carolina gets that win over Auburn. I'll just ask you, because we all know what happened after that point. The change has been made. Shane Beamer is the Gamecocks' new head coach. Would you ever have imagined that how the season played out the rest of the year would have happened after South Carolina beat Auburn. Because I know, I mean, I literally went to Baton Rouge. I did not see that coming. Even if South Carolina struggled down the stretch, I did not expect them to struggle as badly as they did and things to really just unravel. And again, especially like I said, when we were talking on Fade In and going in that Auburn game and then what happened, it was just a wild whirlwind of events that proceeded from that point.
Right, I would agree. Leaving the Auburn game, I was excited about our team. They showed some promise. I think the area we struggled was obviously with consistency.
Yeah.
We went into a game against LSU where the media hyped up that they were starting a freshman quarterback. LSU's not that good. This, that, and the other. And I think LSU was having some growing pains. And listen, LSU did not recruit.
Yeah,
I mean, they got 4 and 5 stars. Yeah, they got guys. And so I think some of those guys were young that were playing, and we weren't very good on defense. I mean, let's call it what it is. We weren't very good. And so when they came out and the quarterback plays lights out and this, that, and the other, does that mean that maybe we just played our best game against Auburn and they played a bad game, or LSU played up to some potential and we played a bad game? But when you consistently got, I think my problem is we consistently didn't step up to the challenge as the year went on. You can point fingers at whose fault it is, but facts are facts. And defensively, we struggled all year long after the Auburn game.